Things keep getting worse for the Dallas Cowboys as they have another interview scheduled with Brian Shottenheimer. We're going to be talking about this and why this is a horrible mistake for the Dallas Cowboys when there are many other amazing candidates, and why Jerry Jones is choosing to do this here in this video. Before we get into it, though, we know that 91% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Dallas Cowboys news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button. Join me here on the channel. We're covering everything Dallas Cowboys. Without any further ado, though, let's get into our first screenshot that we have here, covering all of this from Jane Slater. The Cowboys met with offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer for more than 5 hours yesterday in what was their second interview this week with him. When asked if it was imminent or whether news was expected today, I was told nothing as of yet, per a source informed. The wait continues. But the fact that there was a second interview, a 5-hour interview, this is something that really should worry Cowboys fans, really should put everything on the line for this team. We've seen Brian Shottenheimer for the past 2 seasons with the Cowboys. We saw the offense. You know, a lot of people would go by those years. The first year, a great season, but he was not the one making the calls. Keep that in mind. Offense, that was Mike McCarthy. We saw these duties for him this year for Brian Schottenheimer, and we saw where the offense went. Now, we know there was many injuries this season. There was a lot of things that just didn't go the Cowboys' way, whether or not they should have. And a lot of the stuff that you really cannot put on Brian Schottenheimer, but still, it don't really matter. If you have a guy like CeeDee Lamb, even if it's Cooper Rush, it don't matter who it is, you should be able to generate more offense than what this team did in this season. And even when Dak was healthy, we saw him not have the best season before he got hurt compared to what was going on the season prior. And the drop-off was immense, and a lot of that has to be put on Brian Schottenheimer, and having him as a head coach now, continuing to roll on this offensive coordinator job as head coach, as well as now having control of the defense, really makes zero sense for the Dallas Cowboys. But going further, this is what Dak Prescott said about Brian Schottenheimer. He'll be ready for the next step. He has the right personality and brain, Prescott affirmed, demonstrating his confidence in Schottenheimer's ability to lead the team. Now, it's very interesting that Dak is coming out with this. Now, obviously, he has firsthand experience compared to what would be really anybody else on this team as offensive coordinator, really calling the plays this season, earlier on in the season, and then Mike McCarthy the year before. Dak has that confidence in who he's going to have calling plays for him. And, of course, he's not going to go out and say Brian Schottenheimer's not the right idea. He's not the right guy for the job. He does, come out and just say he'll be ready for the next steps. Doesn't really go out and say, yes, he is the best for the option. And, of course, you wouldn't say that as well either. But the fact that Dak came out and said this, didn't really speak too much else on the whole topic, is very interesting. Looking forward to what the plan is for the Cowboys. Now, of course, with the 12th overall pick, whether they do end up choosing Ashton Jeanty, whether they do end up going elsewhere, it does seem like that right now is the plan for the Cowboys, to draft him at running back for this upcoming season and give Jack just another option. Even though at running back, still receiving back is what we've been seeing from Jeanty with Boise State in college, from what we were seeing this season. He's very good on every side of the ball, and whatever they choose to do with him, he would work out in this Dallas system. And as long as Dak has another option, I do see why that could be a very influential pick for this team and why he trusts Brian Schottenheimer. But also looking at what we're seeing with the Cowboys, what we're looking at for the future, what we're looking at going into the next few seasons, and really depending on what Brian Schottenheimer has been able to do, what he's proven to do, everything that lines up, there are still a lot of serious implications this would have going forward. It's not just giving him the job, saying, let's run with it. We know that you can do it, because his past also has not been the best indication that he is the coach ready to go. And when we look at this Cowboys offense under Brian Schottenheimer, in 2023, they had a very good ranking. Scoring ranking, they were first. Yards, they were fifth. Pass yards ranked, they were third. Rush yards, 14th, but of course, that wasn't really the plan that season. Third down ranking, second, and red zone ranked 14th. The quarterback, of course, was Dak that entire season, but when you go out and look at that, you have to keep in mind, that was Mike McCarthy. That was not Brian Schottenheimer, but if you want to take a look at Brian Schottenheimer's stats with this Dallas Cowboys team, go ahead and look at last season. 21st in scoring rank, 17th in yards rank, 11th in passing yards. Rush yards were 27th. Third down ranking, 23rd. And red zone ranking, 31st. Like, you can't get much worse than that. And that was under Brian Schottenheimer. Now, keep in mind the injuries and everything, but still, even with injuries, even with the whole scheme, it's the Dallas Cowboys. You should be better ranking than all of this. It's not like every wide receiver you had went down. I mean, towards the end of the season, that almost seemed like the case. But for the majority of the season, you had a lot of people healthy. Of course, Jake Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb. The wide receiver room still not as deep as we'd like it to be. And Rico Dowdle had a pretty good season, but of course, he's a receiving back as well, so the scheme was a bit different there. And then, really, with Cooper Rush having to go in and take over these games with Trey Lance as backup, really nothing went the Cowboys' way. But when you look at these trends as well from this entire article, going over all of Brian Schottenheimer's past jobs, past roles, it is a very big trend that he is not the best offensive coach. And that's where it really lies for the Dallas Cowboys of what the future is going to hold, where this team is going to go, and what they plan for the future. Because we do have a lot of other coaches that could be very, very good. Of course, starting off with Coach Prime, and then wherever that went, apparently, we're just seeing nothing about that now. I don't understand why something like that would be reported, come out. Even Dion talking about it and saying, yeah, I'd love to do it, to having zero conversation about it, and now going from them to Brian Schottenheimer. It really just does make zero sense to me. And in 14 years as an offensive coordinator, Schottenheimer's offense only ranked in the top 10 in total offense twice, and we're only top 10 in scoring 5 times. One of those years was in 2023 with the Cowboys, in which McCarthy was the one calling the plays, with Dallas ranking 5th in total offense and 1st in scoring. And when you're looking at this, obviously there's a lot more to go into, a lot deeper you can go into this, but kind of just reading at surface level, reading the cover of the book, this is not what you want to see as a Dallas Cowboys head coach. We don't want to see it. We want someone who can run an offense. We want someone who can control an offense from every aspect of the game. We don't want someone who's just going to come in here, have that experience as an offensive coordinator, have, some good seasons under rankings while others are absolutely terrible. That just will not work in this system, and not just in the Cowboys system, but in the NFL as a whole. We've been seeing it in past years from not just the Cowboys, but many other teams. If you're going to put the wrong coach in at your head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, whatever it may be, you will have a serious issue there that is going to be very, very tough to fix. And that's why in recent years, we've also seen a lot of coaches only have 1 year at the helm, then get fired, and just changing directions for the team, and it just does not work. And it's something that I think the Cowboys are going to want to keep a very close eye on. But we do have another one here, of course, looking at some other options that the Cowboys have had, and there's been quite a few. Looking at during Moore's time, Prescott recorded 14,067 yards, ranking 10th for that period, along with 99 touchdowns, which was the 7th highest during the same stretch. He demonstrated consistent accuracy by completing 67.02% of his passes. Over this time, Dak averaged 287 yards per game with 11.6 yards per completion and achieved a total quarterback rating of 71.9. And under Kellen Moore, those were incredible stats. And we saw Dak really at his prime there. We saw the potential that Dak had. And that's the Dak that should be making the money he's making now, not under Brian Schottenheimer. And it really just does not make sense to me that the process that Jerry Jones is going through these coaches, kind of ranking them, where he's putting them, and where he's putting everybody on this list, it does not make sense, and I don't understand who he's prioritizing and why he's prioritizing some people over others. And of course, the season's not over, so there still is going to be many more interviews to be conducted, but I really don't understand the full push for Brian Schottenheimer in this specific case. But looking at this as well, Dallas has been linked to several legitimate candidates for the job. Most recently, former Cowboys quarterback and current Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, and some intriguing candidates that would move the needle. We're talking about you, Coach Prime. And as I mentioned, those two names are really, in my list at least, much higher than what I would see Brian Schottenheimer as. Whether or not he stays the OC is still yet to be determined. It sure seems like that should be the case. I reported in the last video as well that there's many people seeing that Brian Schottenheimer is very unlikely to be the head coach, but the fact that we're getting 2 interviews, 5-hour interviews, that just does seem a bit concerning for the Cowboys, and just kind of as an outsider watching in for the fans. So let me know what you think about this, and obviously I want to know what you guys think as a head coach, or who should be the next head coach. There's still many options, of course. Kellen Moore's still in the playoffs, so yet to be determined whether or not he's going to be in several deeper interviews and how many teams are going to be after him, but it still is a much better idea for them, for the Cowboys, to go after a guy like Kellen Moore. Even Coach Prime, I'd rather take that gamble than go Brian Schottenheimer as a head coach. So let me know what you think. I'm seeing a lot of kind of negative attitude towards Brian Schottenheimer, and I really cannot blame you guys. So let me know what you think, but that's all I got for this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well, and remember, all your Dallas Cowboys news right here. You won't want to miss it, but like I said, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.